Okay, we're working on this 2012 Dodge Durango. This is going to be the same through many years, from 11 probably up through 2020. But you want to replace the PCV valve as a part of regular maintenance. It kind of varies on how often, but if you've got 100,000 miles, then you should probably replace your PCV valve. Now I know that this one here is bad. You could check them by shaking them, and if it's rattling, then it's probably still good, but then you know the seals and stuff leak, and then there's like another seal that goes on the cam in there. So let me show you the part I have. Okay, so this is a dorman, and let's go ahead and take it out here. Now the difficult part about this job is just getting those T25s, and you know, it is rather difficult to get to them, and they're tight. So here, this is the seal that like goes around the back of the cam there, and then this seal is actually the seal that seals it up against the valve cover, the back of the valve cover, and that just connects to that hose. You see this is rattling away. So that's what that looks like. You'll note that it only has 1, 2, and all the replacements have 2, but the original may have 3. So you may have, in fact, 3 of these torx that you're going to have to remove. So I think that, like, I'm not exactly sure where they're positioned, but I know that these, you know, where these are at, and the other one may be like over here or something on this side, I believe. But this one here may have very well been replaced at one time, because it only has 2. So that's what it looks like. Now the next thing that's good is this dorman comes with a couple of these little bolts. Now the reason these are good, because it's a 10mm headed bolt. Now you could go scrounge up some 10mm bolt or whatever that would probably be easier to put in and remove again than these little torx. They're not real easy. In a spot like that is definitely not a good idea, because what makes it difficult is locating the head of that torx with your little ratchet and trying to get those loose, and they're very tight. So we're going to be putting these back for sure. If you don't have any of these with your part, I would recommend getting some little bolts, you know, the same length. I think they're like M6s or something. Now the other thing, ratchet, I don't have anything special. I got a couple different ones here to show you. This one's a little bit bigger depending on how tight. I just got a T25 on there, and then I've got this little micro ratchet. This one I actually prefer, and I got a T25 on there. But either one of these will work. There is room to get back there. It's just difficult locating it. So let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, so we've got our hood up, and notice we've got a little bit of a platform here to stand on, because it's kind of hard to get back in there. Wouldn't really recommend one of those little step stools, because those have a tendency to want to slide out from under your feet. So, but whatever you have, just something secure to stand on to kind of get a little extra height to get up in here. Now, very first thing, we're going to get this here out of the way, and that just pops down in there with all these little spots. So we'll just pop that out. Now I'm going to be removing this. It's up to you how much you want to remove. I'm going to be removing this whole entire intake here. It's just going to be over here. It's just kind of in my way a little bit. It's going to make it difficult for me to show you what's going on here. So I'm just going to start taking it loose over here. Kind of slide it that way just slightly. Okay, so next thing up, we're going to get this wire connector right here. Now you can use a flat screwdriver or an 8mm here. I'm just going to loosen this band up. Go ahead and pull that off the throttle housing. little thing out of there. Now, as you can see, we've cleared up some room here so we don't have that in the way. Okay, so we're going to look back in here. The first thing that we're going to see is this tube that's running to the top of the PCV here. Now we could probably take this and maybe pull it up here out of the way, or push it back out of the way to give us a little bit of visibility here. Okay, so what you're seeing here is this tube that is running up here, the intake, and then this little rubber elbow that's actually on top of this PCV. Now, it's going to be difficult to remove this if it's been on here for a while, and what I'm going to do, and you notice how it's kind of blocking the view here, this transmission dipstick is kind of right in the way here of where you're removing it. So we're just popping this. I'm going to pop that out of there, and I don't really need to remove this. I can just kind of turn it, twist it, and now it's out of the way. So now I need to work on getting this piece down here loose, and you got to start twisting it, and you may have to fight with it a little bit, but eventually it will come off the top of this PCV valve. So there's that. That just pops down on the top of that, so we'll just put that out of the way. Okay, so now you can kind of see where it's setting back here, and it is. So we got the transmission dipstick kind of going back there, so we're going to have to reach back here. I'm going to try to go for this upper one first. And the bad thing about this is you have to kind of go by feel where it's located. So I may have to use both of my hands to get this started here, if you can see anything at all. My hands being in the way, but I've got it located on that upper one. So now, just a second. So it'll definitely take you a minute to get it located on there because it has to be lined up just right. But then once you get it loose a little, you can easily just spin this off with your fingers. Alright, so I'm getting the top one here, and it's coming loose. It's just, you don't want to drop our bit neither. You see, you know, so far we've got plenty of room here. We've got to get that lower one though. Okay, so there we got the upper one. See, it's just like the little torx that hold the cams up in the front. Okay, so now I'm going to go down to the lower one here. I just have two on this, so you may have three. In that case, you need to feel for the location of the third one. Alright, so I've got that located on there. I'm just kind of getting it loose. Okay, and it's using the same method. Once it's loose, I'm just using the bit itself to finish removing this. Now, once you get the bolts out, it may still be stuck. The seal itself may be still stuck. I'm going to see if I can just get it the rest of the way with my fingers here. Alright, so we got that bottom bolt. Okay, now at this point we should be able just to wiggle and so you want to look at your seal, and you can definitely see that this one's not in good shape. Also the seal going up against the valve cover there doesn't look that great either, but this may have been replaced. It is still rattling. Okay, and you'll notice like this old one, you see how big that is too, and I was like, wasn't sure. This is so much smaller, but it's meant to be a nice tight fit when you first put it on there. So I'm just getting ready to feed this one in place, and of course we've got our, so it should just fit right on there. So we'll line it back up right where our bolts are going to go there. And of course we got the 10 millimeters, so it's going to be easier. And these bolts are the same size as far as the length. So just getting this started here. We're just snugging that down. I said the replacements will only have 2 bolt holes. And I guess they determined that it wasn't necessary to have 3 of them. And that's a good thing. So I'm going to get this one started on the lower. Now I'm getting both of these loosely started prior to tighten them down. You know, you want to make sure that everything's lined up. If you got the top one tight, you're not going to be able to line up the bottom one if it's off any. Alright, we got my little micro with the 10 millimeter. At least I think this is a 10. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, these are 8 millimeters. I stand corrected. And I'm just snugging this upper one first. We'll pull it up, pull that seal down, and we'll get a nice tight seal. Now we'll get on the lower. But you know, I know you can't see everything I'm doing, but I'm just trying to show you that you can go through here and reach everything. It's just not real, it's not real pleasant, but you can reach it. All right, so those ought to be good enough. Now I want you to note how much easier these 8 millimeters are to get to. The placement is much easier with that 8 millimeter head. And these don't need a lot of torque. Just using my micro ratchet and kind of my thumb. You don't want to strip those little brass inserts. So that ain't going nowhere. Okay, when putting this type of stuff back, if you got some dielectric grease, bulb grease or something, you'll want to take and put it kind of inside here. We'll put a little bit. Doesn't take a lot, so just a little bit here, and then we'll just kind of smear it around and smear a little around this end. Make sure this is clean or not clogged. And what this is going to do is the next time that you have to remove this, it's going to be easier to get it loose. It's going to be easier to pop. Okay, and all I'm doing is rotating. All I did was rotate this one. I didn't take it out. We're just pushing it right back into place. So there we have it. The only other factor, you may have to move your wire harness a little bit if it's getting in your way. And I've had this wire harness ripped out and everything else at one time or another, so it's probably a little bit more out of the way than yours. But other than that, I don't see you having a lot of difficulty. You see how easy it is. It's more difficult to get the old one loose than it is to put the new one back. Right, let's tighten our 8mm band back up. Right, that's nice and tight. We'll get our connector, our air sensor. And let's just slide back under these little hinge tabs if you're not familiar with this. Go ahead and put that on. Right, so that's going to do it. Of course, you want to, check and make sure that it's not leaking and everything's working fine. Right, so if you enjoy the content on the channel, then please like, share, and subscribe, and thank you for watching.